Moving into a new home should have been a moment of joy, new walls, new space, a fresh start. But for me, Emma, that day felt like stepping into a trap. The moment my mother-in-law, Janice, entered the house, I felt her disapproving gaze burning into my back. It wasn't just her presence. It was the words she threw at me. "Emma, you don't belong here. This house is for a real wife, not someone who doesn't even know how to cook or keep things together. What would happen if Josh ever left you?" I stood there, stunned. I had been the one keeping our life together. I was the one making sure we didn't drown under bills. But none of that mattered to her. Janice, in her mind, saw me as a failure. And worst of all, Josh, my husband, never stepped in to defend me. The truth was, he had stopped caring long ago. It wasn't always this way. When I first met Josh, he was warm, charming even. He had pursued me relentlessly, showering me with love and attention. Back then, I had been unsure about marriage. I was focused on my career, building my life as an illustrator. But Josh had a way of making everything seem possible, even easy. "Marriage is just a formality, Emma," he had said. "We don't need to involve our families. It's just about you and me." I believed him. I had no idea what was coming. Our wedding was a quiet affair, just the two of us. I thought that was all I wanted. No fuss, no interference from family. But that decision, to marry without involving our families, would haunt me. Josh had always downplayed the importance of family. "They're not that big of a deal," he would say. Yet, after we moved in together, his mother Janice became a constant, suffocating presence. From the start, she made it clear that she didn't approve of me. She saw me as someone who was taking her son away from her, someone unworthy of him. She believed that because I worked from home, I wasn't doing anything important. To her, I was just a lazy housewife, someone who depended on her son for everything. But what she didn't know was that I was the one paying the bills. Josh's job, which he had bragged about when we were dating, wasn't what it seemed. He worked for a small subsidiary of a well-known company, but his income was less than half of mine. I didn't mind at first, as I loved my work, and it allowed me to contribute to our household. But as the months passed, Josh became increasingly resentful. Josh changed after we got married. The sweet, supportive man I had fallen in love with began to fade. He stopped helping with anything around the house, leaving all the chores to me. Every day I would wake up, clean the house, work on my projects, and then cook dinner. But it was never enough for Josh. "You're at home all day, Emma. How hard can it be?" he would say with a smirk. He didn't understand, or didn't want to understand, that working from home was still work. I was an illustrator after all. I spent hours each day creating, designing, and meeting deadlines. But to Josh, because I didn't leave the house, it didn't count. And then there was Janice, who took every opportunity to belittle me. She would show up unannounced, criticizing everything from the way I cleaned to the way I cooked. "I feel sorry for Josh," she would say. "He deserves better than this." I would complain to Josh about her constant interference, but he never listened. "She's lonely, Emma. She's just trying to help. You should be grateful," he would say, brushing off my concerns. It didn't matter that her visits disrupted my work, that her presence made me feel like an outsider in my own home. The breaking point came one evening when Janice made another uninvited visit. She barged into the house, looked around, and shook her head. "What is this mess?" "You really should learn how to clean properly, Emma," she said, her voice dripping with disdain. "If you can't even keep the house tidy, what good are you?" I had had enough. "Janice, I work. I contribute to this household more than you know. You have no right to criticize me," I snapped. But she wasn't listening. She never did. Later that night, I tried talking to Josh about it. "We need to set boundaries with your mother. I can't take her constant interference anymore," I said, hoping he would finally understand. But instead, he shrugged. "She's my mom, Emma. She's just looking out for me." What's the big deal? That was when I realized I was truly alone in this marriage. As the days passed, I started to feel trapped in my own home. I began fantasizing about a life without Josh and his mother. What would it be like to have a space of my own, somewhere I could work in peace without the constant criticism? The idea of leaving them both behind started to grow in my mind, slowly but surely. One afternoon, I found myself browsing apartment listings online. I wasn't serious, at least not yet, but the thought of having my own place was intoxicating. I could picture it. A small, cozy space where I could work without interruption. No more Janice, no more Josh. But then Josh found the brochure. "What's this?" he asked, holding up the paper. My heart skipped a beat. For a moment, I thought my plans had been exposed, but then, to my surprise, he smiled. "Are we moving? This place looks great." He had no idea what I was really thinking. I played along, pretending that I was just looking for something better for both of us. But in my mind, I was planning my escape. Josh, always impulsive, immediately decided that we should move. He even signed the lease for a new apartment, all without realizing that I had no intention of living there with him. I made sure that the mortgage was in his name. "It'll look more impressive if the place is in your name, Josh," I said, knowing exactly how to manipulate him. He loved the idea of owning a new apartment. He could brag to his friends about it, show it off. And in the meantime, I would quietly prepare for my departure. As we prepared to move, I noticed that Josh was becoming more and more distant. He spent hours at the new apartment, overseeing renovations that I had no interest in. "I want a room for my hobbies," he said, not even asking if I wanted one for myself. I didn't care anymore. I was already halfway out the door in my mind, but then, one day, Janice cornered me. "Emma, I need to talk to you," she said, her tone serious. "It's time for you to leave." I stared at her, unsure of what she meant. "What are you talking about?" "Josh and I have decided that it's best if you don't come to the new apartment," she said. "You're not contributing to this family. You don't belong here." Her words stung, but I kept my composure. "Is that so? Well, I guess it's a good thing I've already made up my mind to leave," I said, smiling. She looked at me, confused. "What do you mean?" "I've filed for divorce," I said, holding up the papers Josh had signed during one of our arguments. He had thrown them at me in anger, not realizing that I would actually use them. Janice was speechless, and for the first time, I saw fear in her eyes. "You can't do this," she said, her voice trembling. "What about the apartment? What about Josh?" "That's for you and Josh to figure out," I said, turning to leave. "I'm done." As I walked out of the house, I felt a weight lift off my shoulders. For the first time in years, I was free. The next day, I received a frantic call from Josh. "Emma, where are you? Why isn't the apartment ready? Mom's here, and she's furious." "I'm not coming, Josh," I said calmly. "I told you, I filed for divorce. You're on your own now." "What about the mortgage? What about the bills?" he shouted, panic creeping into his voice. "That's not my problem anymore," I said. "Good luck." In the months that followed, I built a new life for myself. I found a small apartment that was perfect for me, just enough space to work and live comfortably. My work flourished without the constant stress of Josh and Janice dragging me down. As for Josh, he struggled. The apartment he had so eagerly signed for was now a burden, with a mortgage he couldn't afford and bills piling up. Janice, always so sure of herself, found herself dealing with the fallout of her meddling. Josh, once her golden boy, became her burden. I heard through mutual friends that they were barely getting by, drowning under the weight of their bad decisions. But I didn't care. I was finally free from their toxic influence, and for the first time in years, I felt like I could breathe. Now, I wake up every day with a sense of peace. My workspace is quiet, my home is clean, and there's no one to criticize me. I can focus on my work, on building a future that's mine and mine alone. The freedom I feel is indescribable. I never realized how much weight I had been carrying until it was gone. The constant judgment, the manipulation, the feeling of being less than, it's all behind me now. And Josh? He's still trying to manage the mess he created. He and Janice are stuck, drowning in debt and resentment, while I thrive in my new life. Looking back, I realized that leaving was the best decision I ever made. I had let myself be trapped in a life that wasn't mine for too long, but now I'm free, and I'm never going back.